Tonight I wanted to talk about the sense of humor that deity has. And this is a really interesting subject for me because when I started to have these sort of synchronicities and experiences and fine-tuning clairaudiency, after having a mental health clearance, I'm all good. I wasn't expecting for demons in particular to have a sense of humor. Because I really did do some research, like surface level research, but I had always assumed that demons were a bit conniving. The sense of humor is something that I wasn't expecting, especially since I am a pretty goofy person. For those of you who follow my content everywhere, I improv shit that just pops into my head. I have my whole life. I think the psychology about humor is pretty interesting. It comes from a place of nature and nurture, and sometimes it comes from a place of resilience and needing to be able to pop back with wit. So if you are surrounded by very quick-witted people, then you'll have to adapt to that, perhaps if you're getting teased or whatever it is in your environment. So in terms of sense of humor with spirits, not only was I not expecting them to make me laugh, but in completely different ways. Or Belial, who is my patron, I've had probably the strongest connection with out of any fallen angel, does things in synchronicity to where it's not just in my head, but in my environment. I had done a tarot reading for my husband, who was starting to accept that this stuff is real, simply as an agnostic, was seeing too much shit happen in our environment and seeing too many things come into fruition, doing a money spell and then debt getting cleared very soon, or extra money coming in, or something working out. He's always been so respectful, but he started to get it, And I did a reading and I was feeling Belial's energy come out in this tarot reading that I forgot what it was about. But I told him, I said, this really feels like Belial coming out and giving you a message, and I wasn't expecting that. And as soon as I turned a card, it was Belial's card, and then the song from Ghost that says, Belial, fucking went in sync, and then my lights blew out upstairs. I'm not kidding. And my husband was like, that's fucking wild. And to him, it's funny, to Belial, that kind of, and people who have relations with Belial will know exactly that I'm not making this shit up because it's so fucking ridiculous. I've even caught some of those things on film for you guys, but it will be shit like that. Or it'll be me having some sort of epiphany or some sort of spiritual message and getting something, some sort of deep knowledge, and you're like, holy shit, I need to cross-reference this. Is this real, or is this just me bullshitting myself? And then he'll say something crazy. Not too long ago, I was really struggling with feeling people's energy, negative energy. I get a lot of really, really intense messages, especially on my Instagram, and I hear a lot of just horrible stories, and I feel and see and hear people not only ask for help, but people who are really stuck in that dark place of depression, like really stuck in that loop, and that's an aspect that you have to roam on the left-hand path, I believe, at least for me, even if you are external about it, right? Even if you're like not involved, but you have to understand that pain. So anyways, I was fucking crying because of just so much. And even I'm not kidding, guys, I'll get to the point, but even the damn repairman came over and started crying about his life, and it was heavy, and he just felt like he can talk to me, and I felt terrible. He was a really great older gentleman. He's been a repairman since as long as I've been here, and he broke down. I'm like, fuck, man, I'm just making everybody cry. So I was crying on my bed, and I was doing a reading with Belial, and I was like, this is so much. I just feel like I feel the world's pain all the time, and it's just so fucking much. And he was like, okay, Jesus Christ. And I thought, the thing is it was so blasphemous, but I heard him say that, and then it made me also think, holy fuck, am I learning a lesson on my small, minuscule level what other entities have to go through, whether it be Jesus Christ or Lucifer or Belial? How many people turn to deity, whether in the light or within the dark, seeking help? And it's really confronting just on my small scale. It's probably really heavy on theirs, and I can feel that with Belial. You can feel that heaviness. There's an aspect of him that holds on to that. So, but he will say the most ridiculous shit at the wrong time, or shit will synchronize in my environment where it's fucking obvious, and it'll be like something regarding his, things on his altars or something. The candle wax will make some weird fucking shape or look like a penis or something. Like, I've had everything ridiculous happen that you can think of. Belial's Belial, and he gets a really good kick out of that. And the thing that's interesting to me is when you struggle with depression or bouts of it for hormonal reasons or just environmental. For me, it's hormonal. I can feel his energy of humor when he's saying something, and it'll make me like snap out of it. You know what I mean? Like, he really knows how to get you out of that place, because depression's a real thing, and it doesn't matter how much you got your shit together, how supportive you have, whatever. It's not biased to anybody, any person or circumstance or financial bracket, anything. So for me, a couple days out of the month, I really feel down, and I'm aware of why, but it's hard for me to feel anything. I feel really bleak. But he's able to crack that out. And I don't want it to seem sensationalized, like, oh, if you just work with demons, they'll fucking help you out and fix your problems. No, this is really hard. I try to tell people, because people are like, oh, what do you get gifted, all this stuff? How did you lose weight? It's like, it's not like that. They humble you, and they show you how great teachers they are, and you don't want to let yourself down. I have to put in 100% of the work. There's no, they help me and I do all this stuff. They don't sprinkle magic demon dust and then depression goes away. But he's able to raise that energy within when it feels like it's hard to yourself. And then when he kind of initiates that, I am able to carry on and then be myself in smaller ways and crack out of it a bit sooner. So it's a very beautiful process. And when it comes to humor and Belial, it's definitely intricate, because there's always something to learn from it, or something to benefit or to think about within his humor. And sometimes he's just really silly. It can be just really silly shit that happens, or you hear, or you see. I'm not really sure in terms of astral experiences. I'm trying to think, because I know I've had stuff, but I just can't think off the top of my head. But that's just him. It'll be really obnoxious sometimes, and it's always very clever, and sometimes it's kind of like a dirty dad joke, and it's like, why right now? So those are just some of the complexities of King Belial with his humor. Now, for my matron Hecate, who I work with her predominantly with witchcraft and in the kitchen, she absolutely helps me on a maternal level. As I am a parent, she helps me when I'm really struggling with feminine aspects of wrath, She's a really good goddess to have that relationship with. But her humor, it's so weird, and I know it sounds crazy, but she seems like the type of chick that would throw some back with you and talk shit all night and fucking laugh her ass off with you. And she has such a composed side to her, an aspect to her where she's very powerful and in charge, and I'm intimidated. But she has this like loosens up side where she loves alcoholic beverage, she loves alcoholic offerings, and she loves sweets, and she really loves cannabis. And she just seems like she's like that girl, she's like a fucking partier. But she's so composed, they get to indulge into these offerings that we give them because their capacity is much more. So unfortunately, us peasant humans have to learn how to balance those things. But her humor is so good, and she just it's almost like this raspy humor, if that makes sense. Like just this harsh, but really feminine at the same time, just like classy fucking humor, but it seems classless, but her delivery is very classy about it. So I really appreciate that about her. And a lot of the time it has to do with food. When I'm making an offering for her or making her tea, she seems very excited, but it's like, put some more fucking syrup in that, or like top it off, they will ask for more in that sense. Azazel is a deity that I've been working closely side by side with this past year, but very quietly, and it's very like short bursts of him. His humor is very quiet and collected. It's almost like a chuckle from Azazel, because I've had plenty of meditations with him and Belial, and it's almost like, see, here's the thing. I just need to get off topic again, real quick. When people try to explain relationships, when you're having two spirits and you connect, whether it's through meditation or an astral experience, or just within your own environment, people kind of have this misconception that everybody's buddy. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like there's just this barrier, and like there's respect, and they're almost like colleagues in a way, and their energy can connect with yours and it becomes something different. Does that make sense? So it's not as glamorous or sensationalized or as like fun as you. It's not like I'm sitting here congregating with all the demons at once and we're all having a laugh and this is just like raising a ton of. First of all, I fucking wouldn't in this office. The damn smoke detectors would probably go off, and it would be too much. It's too much energy when you have too many intense spirits. It's almost like this analogy. I use this analogy to explain to my husband, because we've got a bunch of kids. It's like when the kids come in, and we don't wear shoes in our house, but if the kids were to come in with shoes in their house and we never swept or mopped the floor or vacuumed, after a while that's going to accumulate. That dirt and dust and debris is going to accumulate, even without wearing shoes, just wearing socks or something. It's like that energetic imprint with spirits, only it's like cement and mud that they're tracking in, and it's not that they're trying to, it's just they are so powerful. So when I talk about having these dual experiences, it's not like that. But I got off topic way too much. But Azazel's humor is very, very subtle, and he's very like, sort of like, he'll have a chuckle, and he appreciates a good joke. He appreciates a Belial type of joke. But he's a bit more reserved about it, if that makes sense. I know it sounds crazy to people who don't have these sort of experiences, but it absolutely is something that sparked an interest in me to self-reflect whether that's me or not. Because I am a goofy person and I like to crack jokes, I wanted to see if that was my own reflex within my mind, or if there is something deep within me in my mind that's past me. And I've come to this 90% conclusion that it's not me, because I know the algorithm or the cadence of my own humor. I know my own reflexes, and when I hear deity or I feel their messages, I'm not thinking. I've learned to clear my head completely, and that stuff just comes, and I know when it's me, and I know when it's something deeper, whether it's just my subconscious or it's external. So those are like, it's almost like art forms with humor. Like comedy is an art form to a lot of people, and you want to know their imprint in their energetic humor, if that makes sense. Lucifer has a very classy humor to him. It's almost like a father/grandfather who's modern and cool, but you're still respectful. And sometimes he'll say things that are a bit out of fucking pocket, but for the most part, it's almost like he'll tell jokes about shit that nobody else would get, like about the art world or something, you know what I mean? It's very like deep and obscure, and it's just this interesting experience with him, with Lucifer in general, because he is very, very chatty, but he gets this energy he gets when he is humored or he has something humorous to say is very like almost jolly, if that makes sense, in the most charismatic and composed way. So I love seeing that sort of stuff. Some demons I haven't had experiences in terms of humor. Lilith is one of them. She's very like a free spirit at times. I like to raise energy and dance and give her offerings, and I used to do that a lot in my bathroom, like during a new moon, any type of moon phase. But in my upstairs bathroom, I have a window, luckily, and I would let the moonlight in and just charge my spirit. I like to call moon bathing like sunbathing, but for your spirit, And I would just be in the bathroom, and doing that and just raising energy in her. She's very like free spirited, but in this most like seductive, beautiful, charismatic way, and likes a good joke and likes to laugh, but isn't very like comedic herself in my experience, but likes to hear other banter. I honestly could have just, I'm trying to think of who else, because Leviathan, I don't see or experience that humorous aspect. It's his, my experience with Leviathan is completely different than like any of them. They're all completely different. I had a ritual not too long ago with Lucifuge Rofacal, and he wasn't like comedic, but his ways of communicating humored me in a very respectful way. He was very curious, and I had this really deep meditation, and it was almost like he was like looking at me trying to figure me out, like, what the fuck is wrong with this bitch? And it felt like he knew me, but it was just almost adorable in the most proper manner. He has this very, almost an antiquated sort of element to him. He's very book smart and very like in this experience he was so interested in his work. It's almost like he has ADHD in a respectful manner, because I do, and he's just too fucking caught up in what he's doing to he's like the white rabbit off of fucking Alice in Wonderland, like, look, I'm fucking busy. And but he was really endearing, and it was still welcoming energy. So I was really I felt very entertained by that experience with him. So as I said, he wasn't trying to be goofy or silly or anything, but it was just very endearing, and I had a really, really great I just had a great time. One thing that I want to touch on in terms of feeling entertained by a deity or you entertaining them is whether or not it's a coping mechanism, because I observe a lot of stuff when I am on the internet, and sometimes I see young people who are really lonely and they're communing with spirits and they're just kind of stuck in it all day. And that makes me kind of wonder, is that me? Am I using this as a coping mechanism? Because I don't have like the biggest social life right now. I have friends online and a couple that are local, but everybody is just really busy, and COVID just kind of fucked with everybody, So when I'm not busy with my beautiful family and I take time to connect with spirit, I try to make sure that it's not a coping mechanism, if that makes sense. It's really important for me to just dissect that sort of shit without overthinking it, because I think that it can be unhealthy when you are disconnected from human beings and only connected from spirits. And this is just my opinion. I don't mean to be disrespectful to people, because I've talked to people who don't talk to people at all and only commune with spirits, and like I'm the only person that they talk to, or they message once in a while, and they do nothing but have tons of spirits around. I think at some point, respectfully, people should try to connect with human beings, as hard as it is, because this world's really fucked up and people can be draining, and I'm really drained. I am really, really, really drained by humans, and it's not even there's no animosity when I feel that. It's just a reality. And I keep my wards up. I have my guard up. I keep a good vortex when I go out. I know how to do that. It's just a lesson that I'm learning on my path. Is one of my aspects of equivalent exchange is I'm going to have to fucking deal with this. And it's a reality check. It's a lesson within itself. So when I try to go too far in making sure that I've got all my ducks in a row, that can be really dangerous for people, if you struggle with mental health or perhaps OCD, or it can turn into psychosis. You don't need to think so fucking far ahead, because it'll just keep going. It's finite. Knowledge is finite. So when it comes to connecting with spirit in general, especially if it's in an entertaining manner, I highly recommend to kindly make sure that you're okay and that your social life is okay. And if it's not, know that you can find a few people to connect with and feel a bit less lonely. We all go through it. I feel lonely at times, and right now I'm too busy building my dreams and my goals, and I'm having a lot of fun with this. I don't really have time for people's issues. I have a few close people in my life, and the rest is just I'm in my own world, So when I connect with spirit, I just want to make sure that in the physical realm, I'm feeling grounded and fulfilled before I'm having, dinner with a bunch of demons and laughing, like a fucking, happy hour or something. I just think that that's important to keep in mind. The humorous aspects that I have experienced always come out of left field. I'm never going into a trance or any sort of work hoping to feel fulfilled socially because I feel lonely. There are times where you feel alone with certain struggles because nobody can relate or whatever, and I will feel some of their energy just come to me. And sometimes they'll say, I know that I need to handle this on my own, and sometimes they say, you're being hyper fucking independent. But when it comes to their humor, it really seems to happen mostly when everything's fine, unless I'm kind of struggling with some depressive episodes. I do believe that spirits, whether they're gods, demons, angels, etc., have senses of humor or have the ability to laugh at something silly, because we are complex and we have feelings. Even if you're going by scripture on how God has all these complex feelings and we have all these complex feelings, of course anybody in between would. And that can get complicated, even God and different aspects, and I'm not even going to go there. This is what I mean. Just ground yourself and don't overthink it, because people go crazy over this stuff. I just advise that people who are interested in the occult to really, really ground yourself and try to find people to connect with, because your spiritual path should not be a coping mechanism for things going on in your physical life. It can become very dangerous, and it can become a psychological problem. You don't want to find yourself just secluded and just laughing with spirits all day, because that's going to turn into psychosis. One of the best gifts for me is to be able to document that and share that information, because some things just happen in my environment that are too ridiculous to even talk about. I have had the aspect of Satan's energy in my environment a handful of times. And every time it's been the most intense, besides Samael, where it were some of the most physically intense experiences that I had that I wasn't expecting. And I'm sure I have this written down somewhere, but I struggle with when I'm told something, I will hear myself, I'll feel this reflex wanting to come out. Well, why do I gotta do that? And I did that with Satan. I caught myself, I checked myself in the back of my fucking head, and I can just feel his energy look at me like, not in this exact sense, but like, this fucking bitch, when the fuck are you gonna learn to, come on. I caught myself, I forgot what, and I feel stupid for that, because I forget what experiences I have sometimes. I should try to look it up. It's not going to be in this old phone. I wish I remembered what it was, and I know that I have it written down, probably on the phone I'm filming on, but I remember wanting to question it. I am very disciplined and respectful, and when I say compliant, I'm compliant with the things that I know that I need to do. I don't want people to get that shit twisted and think, oh, yes, sir, yes, Lucifer, I will tell the people what you told me. That doesn't work like that. And anybody who says that, unless you've made a pact and you're supposed to, then you got to follow through. That's on you. That's a whole different ballgame. But I have personally never been told, you need to say this, or you need to do this, and you need to do this. It's really like, look, if you want to meet this goal, this is what it's going to fucking take. And if you don't do it, then you're not going to be happy. And if you do this and you get rewarded, don't fucking get cocky, or it's going to be taken away. That's what I mean by that. But Satan had given me some advice, and I didn't like that advice, but I was taking it in. But there was this fucking twitch in the back of my subconscious where she was coming out. This fucking dumbass who never shuts the fuck up when she should, because she's always got something to say. And even the goddamn devil, Satan, the satanic aspect, Satan himself was just like this, without saying anything. There was no words, but just the energy was like, this fucking stupid bitch, and that right there, I was like, fuck, Amber, it was like a lesson within itself. Like, gosh, I still have this reflex back there, and I have to keep toning that down. I really, really struggle. I struggle now with that on a really deep level. It's not on a surface level when people are acting like jerks or someone's doing, I'm so past that sort of nonsense. I'm glad that I grew past that. It's that fucking, you think you're better than me shit. And it's like, no, bitch, I know I am. Like, do you want me to write it in fucking crayon for your dumb ass? Like, that was me. And that is not good. And there's this part of me that's still in there, and it's like, fuck, you want to say something. And what, Belial will challenge that at times, because he fucking loves about that. He loves how fucking ridiculous my mind works at times. And sometimes he'll give advice, and there's almost this energy of a chuckle behind it, because he knows that I'm going to be thinking something, and it's really fucking quick. So that's the thing too, whether it is yourself or your subconscious or external, it's like this exercising tool if you don't believe that these entities are external, because it really helps you develop more quick wit. And Belial is very, very silly and goofy. Not all the time. There's a fucking time and a place where I need to shut the fuck up and listen, and I do, and I'm humble. But he's always got this like kind of aspect to him, like just the wrong fucking times. And I'll be like, please don't fucking make me laugh. Like, don't do it. Because that's something a lot of us have had trouble with. Whether you're in the face of authority or some fucked up situation or some awkward situation, and then you got something fucking really good to say, and you're like, fuck, man. Then you start making yourself laugh. That's the worst. But Belial brings that out and challenges it at times. So, and it will be not even in terms of like somebody looking dumb in public, or it's nothing like that. It's about like ancient knowledge that I'm shown, or a deity that I'm studying, or an angel or a fallen angel. And sometimes he'll just fucking talk shit real quick, and I'm like, oh my god, stop it already. Fuck, I can't think like this. And it's not intrusive thoughts. I don't struggle with that. I've never had any history of thinking things that I didn't want to think, or anything like that, or needing to do certain ritualistic things. So I want to clear that up. It's just really important for me to talk about the mental health aspect, because when you content create, and I know that this is really small, but when you content create and people start really connecting with you, they start spilling their entire life story really, really quick. And I have learned just doing a reading with Belial, asking, is this something I'm going to have to face? And it's like, yeah, if you want all the other cool shit, you want to make money, having fun, and doing amazing, showing your life. Like, I get to do this. This is just my life. This isn't even like, oh, I got to make a spell for a video. Like, I was going to do that shit fucking anyways, and I get to do something really special, and I'm understanding of that, and I got to be in check about that, because expansion can be a bit overwhelming. And I'm not talking about numbers on social media or any bullshit. It's about touching people and reaching people, and you weren't aware that was going to happen. It's one of those things that he'll kind of dilute sometimes with humor. But you also understand your expansion. It's kind of like an equivalent exchange, I'm starting to learn. So there are times, and when I hear deep dark stories, there's no Belial coming out in a goofy manner. I'm not saying that wouldn't happen, but I've personally never had that experience. If anything, when he is mentioned, because I get a lot of messages, I just got one yesterday, somebody asking for help, needing Belial, me to channel. I don't do channel things. It's just not my calling. I'm not going to do it for money if it doesn't feel right. It's not how that works. When I feel high energy and I'm doing readings for myself, or I feel this urge to do one for the collective, it's very sporadic. For people who follow my content closely, I don't do it every day. It's kind of like once in a while when it arises. You can't force this sort of stuff. You can't force content around this. But all in all, I've had a really interesting experience just developing relationships with infernals and understanding their humor, understanding things that you can say or think that would raise that energy within them. And I recommend not trying to force it. For me, when I just pop out jokes. I don't know where the fuck they come from. I don't script shit. I don't think of shit and go, oh man, I need to say that later. It just wouldn't work with me. I don't know, maybe in the future it would if I was to do some acting or something, but it's not something that happens. It just kind of is improvised. And when you start seeing other types of humor that is more clever than yours, you know that that's not you expanding, because I'm still humorous and I know my humor is just to kind of maintain what it is. But when you have these really, really intelligent beings being funny in ways that teach you lessons and synchronize with other things in your environment, that's what sticks out for me. And that I will say, because I could just do like 4 episodes on Belial's humor in all honesty, but I wanted to kind of cover my base experience. There's always with him these amazing lessons, and it just leaves you just a clusterfuck of just a confusion of feelings. And I think that in itself is such a beautiful signature to have as like somebody who's very comedic. And if people are interested in working with Belial, because I'm not Belial's fucking keeper or secretary or anything. Maybe this is ignorance, but I'm a bit confused why people who want to connect with certain entities ask other people to do it for them. I'm just not sure how that works. Like I personally would find, I don't know, I would find it a bit difficult, but I get it because I've done readings for my husband, so what the fuck am I talking about? But yeah, it's just this weird kind of thing. I just channel this stuff. The point being is, if you develop a relationship with Belial, he likes people who are funny. He likes to be entertained, but not in a way like a king would. It's, in my experience, it's a very like intimate sort of humor, like you would a really close friend, only there's still an element of respect there, and the joke's not like about him or anything like that. Sometimes you can think of something clever and he's listening, like he always feels like he's around in my thoughts, and you don't have to have that. You can block that out, because I do. And that's a good example of like maybe intrusive thoughts if people aren't sure if they struggle with that. There are days where I am deity free and people say you can't do it. I agree in terms of like astral work and nightmares and dreams, that's probably inevitable. But in terms of your everyday life, it's absolutely possible to tune it out. I'm at a place where I'm spiritual every day, but if I feel like I need to not be spiritual, whether because I'm getting too engulfed into my spiritual work and research on my free time, or I just need to ground and have fun earth experiences, I do that. And then I don't get any intrusive thoughts. It's almost like I've done a bunch of work, I've put in the work, and now I'm going to take a few days off from spiritual stuff. And at those times, I don't really feel anybody's humor coming through. So I can't speak for other people. It's like one of those things where any fucking thing I say now, people are just like, that's not true. You can't fucking do that. I talked to Lucifer and he says you're fucking lying. It's like, fuck off, seriously. My experiences are just mine. My job is not to teach people or to indoctrinate anybody or to convince anybody that the devil is great and that the devil collective, they're not that bad guys. I am fucking here just sharing my experience, and then there are other people who are occultists that are like sharing their experiences, and that's all I really care about. I personally don't give a fuck about coming on this platform and teaching people. Like, it's not outside of like wanting to show really cool stuff about herbalism and magic and food and stuff on Kitchen Occultist. Outside of that, there's no fucking, I need to step up for the people. It's not about that at all. So when I give advice, I want people to understand that, for one, I'm giving advice based on my experiences and my mentality and my mental health. Your experience with fallen angels and infernals like Hecate can be completely different than mine, but I know that there's so many similarities, and I personally get excited when I hear other stories. I'm like, that sounds like something Leviathan would do. These beautiful lessons people have. Or with humor, I've heard somebody told me on Kitchen Occultist, Belial likes to call people a bitch a lot, and I'm like, fuck yeah, he does. He actually really does. And that's not something that I do. I say it like bitch please. But in terms of calling people a bitch, I just don't have it. I don't care. It's not a thing. But yeah, he'll really bring some stuff out. I might have to do a whole fucking episode on just that, but I get sick and tired of talking about Belial sometimes because I sound like I'm just fucking simping over him, and that's easy to do with fallen angels. You gotta check that shit. In all seriousness, it's because I've had a genuine, beautiful relationship with this demon, and I've learned so much about myself. I've learned where my humors come from. I've learned just about my potential and expansion and how detached he is, to the point where he fucking chuckles about it. Because I've seen him on his throne with fire all around him, different types of fire. And I had this experience a long time ago where I was walking through an aisle and there was just demons, like lesser demons, like his brigade, but it was like fucking days, man. It was like miles worth of demons. And they were all inflamed, and it didn't even feel uncomfortably hot. But he was on his throne, and he was just like, almost without the physical mannerisms, he was almost like, look what I do, and like, that kind of shit, but in a calm manner, and you can feel that energy. It's just this chaotic, neutral aspect of him, and it makes you think, this fucking guy is crazy. He doesn't even give a shit, but he does. Like, it's really, really cool, and maybe I'm sounding too stupid explaining it. I think I'll leave it at that, guys. I hope you found this video informative. I'm sorry if I'm sounding a little lethargic lately. It's really late at night. I'm trying to squeeze this in. I am just going to say this before we leave. I'm going to catch up on the Clips channel. I'm going to start this weekend, and I have no excuse. I've been dreading it, and I'm far behind. So I will be queuing up some clips on the Clips channel. I apologize again because it's fucking a lot. I don't know why. I'm stupid for doing all this, to be honest. To do a fucking cooking show and a podcast and this big Gnosis project and a Clips channel and shit, TikTok. It's ridiculous. It's fucking dumb. I just enjoy doing it. So I don't know. I feel like I'm doing too much sometimes, but I really love it. It's nice that my life is allowing time for me to do this sort of shit. So, alright, you guys, you have a wonderful night, and I will be back very soon.